My name is Malika Womack. Beyond the titles of realtor, author, and artist, Malika Womack is just an ordinary person. Like, I am a daughter of a pastor, my pastor's daughter. I come from a really big family, have a lot of cousins, 1,000 or more cousins, and I am just a person that has a vision, and I have a story, and I love to share my story with everyone. I love to bring people laughter and joy. That's who I am. I was raised predominantly by my grandmother and my grandfather. My father was very active in my life. Him and my mother got divorced when I was really young, so my grandparents stepped up and helped out with me and my brother. I personally feel like my grandmother molded me into the woman I am today. She taught me how to be nurturing, how to be loving, how to keep the family together, how to cook, all the good things that people love and enjoy. That's what my grandmother taught me, and that helped me be who I am today. I got into real estate by accident. I actually was working at a bank, and at the time my kids were young and they were in school, having a lot of issues as far as like having to pick them up early from school or doctor's appointments and things like that. And in banking, there's no leeway. Like, your break is 30 minutes, they want you back on the floor. And I actually met someone that was like, hey, have you ever thought about getting into real estate? And he was coming in, he was well known in the Clarksville area, and I would see those checks and I was like, woo, I need a check like this. And he was like, you should really think about getting into real estate. You would be really good at it. And by luck, I met someone that was looking for a property manager, and I started working for him through a temp service called Kelly Services. I started working for him, and he was like, look, I want to buy you out of the contract. I want you to work for me directly. And then he was like, I want to pay for you to go to real estate school to get your real estate license. And that's how I got into the real estate business. So it was by accident. And then he just kind of taught me how to work with investors and different things like that. I got inspired to be an author. I've always used to write. When I was in high school, I wrote great essays. My English teacher always would say they enjoyed reading my essays because my imagination was so vivid, and and I always enjoyed writing poetry and songs and different things like that. What made me write Oh Blue House was healing. I lost my mother in 2021 to COVID, and I went to a grief counselor. And the grief counselor told me to start writing down what I felt. And by doing that, I ended up writing Oh Blue House. And so when I wrote that book, it just became so real to me because those stories are real. Everything in that book is real life. And to share my story with everybody and to see that it's bringing so many different people joy and laughter and happiness, and they remember because they know that house. They knew my grandparents. That's what, memories of Oh Blue House. My first book, my favorite book. As far as God is Still Working is a story about a fictional character named Lexia Vandermoon. And she had a lot of trials and tribulations in her life, but she ended up being successful because her faith, at her lowest point, she found God. And through that, she held on to God's hand and was able to overcome and surpass so many different obstacles. She was able to bring her whole family back together and, to be a true family and love the way that God has intended for us to love one another. And that's God is Still Working. Queen Mystique, I guess you could say it's a part of my personality. So some of my cousins on my mother's side, some of my cousins call me Mystique. Mystique is like a nickname of mine, right? That's the not so conservative, reserved Malika. Queen Mystique has fun. She has a lot of fun. And so Queen Mystique, she writes songs about everything. She doesn't just do gospel or inspirational music. She also writes bedroom bangers for husbands and wives. And party music, you know, to have everybody get together and have a good time, you know. So she's just another part of me, and loves to express herself through song. Okay, so the songs, Queen Mystique, you can find it on, you know, Amazon Music or iHeartRadio, Spotify, whatever. It is my songs that I write out. I own the rights to them. I write the lyrics. I'm just not singing them. It's, you know, AI voice or computer generated voice or whatever, but I write all my songs. They mean something. Okay, so how does my roles as a mother, an author, grandmother, realtor, everything not compete with each other? Here's the thing. They do sometimes, okay? And I'm just being completely transparent. Like, it's hard not to intertwine them. I love my kids. Those are my babies. They will always be my babies, no matter how old they get. I love my grandkids. I didn't think it was possible to love something so much that I didn't actually birth. But goodness, grandparents, I mean, grandchildren, yes, total joy. I enjoy being a wife. I enjoy being a mother, a grandmother, a sister, you know, an aunt. I enjoy a family. I love family. A lot of times my children and my husband tell me when we go on vacation, I get in trouble. They put me in timeout because Malika brings the laptop and I'm working, and it's like everybody's at the beach having a good time and mom's over there on her computer. So it is hard not to intertwine them. My phone rings constantly, you know, like whatever I do. But what I do try to do is I try to make time for everybody. I want my clients to know that I'm here. I'm attentive to their needs. I want my family to know that they always come first. But every once in a while, they kind of intertwine, and it's just going to happen. Wow, why is family and legacy and faith so important? So here's the thing. I'm a pastor's daughter. So growing up in the church, growing up with a father like I had that ruled with an iron fist, who was a pastor, good man, you know, just an all around good guy. Taught me so much. I've learned so much from him. I even wrote a song about it, Daddy a Good Man. You know, you can find it on all the platforms. It taught me the sense of family and how to put God first, and how no matter what you go through in life, you can always lean on God. You can always call on God, and He'll always be there every time. And so I think growing up and seeing some of the obstacles my dad went through, as I said earlier, you know, my mom and dad got divorced when I was really little. You know, I was young, me and my brother. And I saw my dad go through a lot. And believe it or not, even though I was 5 or 6 years old, I remember a lot of that. And throughout the years. And I saw my dad's trust in the Lord and his faith, you know, in God. And it didn't turn him into an ugly person at all. My dad actually had custody of me and my brother, and that's very rare. Most of the time the children live with the mother, but no, my dad had custody of us, and his parents, my grandparents, helped him, you know, with us and all. And it built me and molded me, because I went through a divorce myself with my 3 young children, and you know, it didn't turn me into a bitter person. I just remember Daddy and remember the things that he taught me, and it has helped me get to where I am now in life. Challenges that I've overcome throughout my career and my dreams. There's been a lot of challenges, a lot. One of the biggest challenges is that sometimes certain family members don't really have your back the way that you would think that they would. I have had obstacles, you know, in my career, on my job, like things sometimes haven't always been fair, but you still have to persevere and overcome that. You can't let that get the best of you. When you do have family members that maybe don't show you love like you would show them love, or whatever, don't show support, you just have to give it to God and just know that that's where my help comes from. Look to the hills, you know, where come your help. And that's what I've done. I've done that for so long now. Like now it's just almost the norm. Like I always tell myself this: if it's gonna be, it's left up to me. I'm not waiting on anybody else. I'm not going to sit here and be stagnant. I'm going to keep it moving, and I'm going to, whatever it is I want to achieve, I'm going to do it. with being a visionary, I visualize for my family to be on one accord. I visualize unity for my community, for my family, for my friends. Like, that's what I want. I want everybody to see that everything is not a competition. You know, I have a lot of family members that want to compete with one another, and you can't lift one up because you're trying to, you don't want this one to get far ahead of you. I'm not like that at all. Like, I feel like God has put enough here on this earth where we all can be successful. We all can do well for, you know, we can all do well in life. We can all be successful and love one another and support one another. That's what I'm trying to get my family to see. I'm trying to get my family to see that there's more than one way other than, you know, competing with each other. You can actually help somebody, and out of helping them, you can get to where you're trying to go through helping. What I want people to remember about me is that I love everybody, and that love is the answer to a lot of things. A lot of things could be omitted if we just love a little harder. A lot of things could be, you know, better if we love. You know, through love, agape love, that is God-given love. There are so many things that we can conquer. But and I want people to know that I truly love them. I'm genuine in my loving, my giving, my caring, my nurturing. Like, everything I do is from the heart, and I do it with God's love. And I want people to know to look for me next. Look for me on the big screen. Look for me on the big screen. That's the goal. That's where I'm going. That's the dream. You know, it's steps. It's like layered to this thing. You know, we do the layers, and then with God's help, the big screen. Keep God first. Hold on to your dreams. Don't let nobody tell you that you can't do something, because through Christ I can do all things. With Christ that strengthens me. And to always reach out a helping hand. It's not all about climbing that mountain and you getting to the top. Sometimes you got to help somebody else come up the mountain too.